Hello and welcome to Loving Me, Myself, and Life with me, Jody Musiak. We as humans have this tendency, now I'm not saying all, but we fall, like at least for me personally, we can fall into this trap per se, or this we kind of fall into focusing on what can go wrong. But here's the thing, it's time to stop focusing on what could go wrong and start focusing on what can go right. What you focus on expands. So and I've done this. I'm saying this with so much love. This episode, every episode, I'm always sharing about things that I've learned, lessons. Life is just this awesome, amazing chain of lessons. Have you ever been where you think about everything that can go wrong, where you're like, oh, what if this happens? Or what if this happens? And you're spiraling out, and you can even talk yourself right out of doing something because of it. Or it's even with, and I've talked about this before too, when you're having a conversation or before you meet up with somebody, you already play out the whole conversation. It's all negative. What we focus on grows. So when we focus on the negative things that haven't even happened yet, that we just assume might happen, we're bringing that closer to us. We're focusing on it. And the more we think about negative thoughts, the more negative thoughts we have. But what would happen if we started focusing on what could go right? If you just think oh, what if I had a really amazing conversation with this person or got to know them better? We don't know what's in the future. We don't know what has happened. In my opinion, personally, it feels so much better to think about what could go right in a situation instead of what can go wrong. Now, like I said before, I have done the negative thinking before. And I've definitely, it happens a lot. But anytime that I focus on what could go right, I am at such a better place when things happen to enjoy them. We can get lost in thinking all these negative thoughts, and it actually prevents us from enjoying what's actually happening. And what I said, what you focus on grows, and what you bring near. So when you're thinking negative things, you're bringing those near. But if you're thinking positive thoughts, you have a more positive experience. So if you've been caught in what if, and what if this happens, or what if this happens? But what if something amazing happens? So instead of thinking, what if they don't like me, or what if I fall flat on my face, or what if I fail? What if I instead fly, that I succeed? What if they love me and it's so exciting? It doesn't even matter if they, we shouldn't even get lost in what other people think of us, but we do. So I'm throwing it in there. What if something amazing actually happens? So if you are, fall into the tendency of thinking about what could go wrong, flip and be like, what could go right? And this is actually a really great journaling exercise. And if you're not going through this situation right now, take a note, write it down somewhere. So when you do find yourself thinking about an event, an activity, something that's coming up, maybe it's your career, maybe it's any goals that you have, whatever might be happening. And instead of thinking about what's going wrong, think about what could go right. And this could be an activity, it could be something you do in your journal activity that you could do. And it's when you get spiralizing into the negatives, what could go wrong, you could even write that down if you want. All the negative stuff, if you really need to get it out. Because sometimes we just need to feel it, get it out of our bodies, and you can move on, let it go. And then after you do that, you can be like, but what if it could go right? And then write down what it would look like if everything worked out the way you wanted it to. What if that job that you really wanted, worked out? And actually, I just thought of an example for myself. So I went to school for fashion design way back in 2002. Yep. Graduated, and I ended up moving back, not in home because it was out my parents lived out in the country, so I just didn't want to to commute. I was like, I didn't see a half hour, 45-minute drive into the city. So I moved in with my grandma. And I was like, I just need a job. So I worked at a clothing store. And later on in life, things lined up, and I actually ran into somebody that worked in the job that I wanted. I wanted to work for Zellers and design their clothes. That was like one of the big things. And I finally got an interview there. And now I'm not saying I would have got the interview or got the job if my mindset was different, but maybe I would have. I don't know. But after leaving there, I was thinking about everything that was wrong. Here I am like interviewing at my like that was my dream, was to work there. But it was in a different city. It didn't pay all that well. Like at the time it paid better than what I was getting paid, but I was living with my grandma. I had a car that was about to break down. It would not make the trip every single day. So I was thinking about everything that could go wrong. So I'm like, if I get the job, I either have to move there. How am I supposed to afford rent with all my student loans? And then I was thinking of all the things that could go wrong instead of experiencing like, I could be working at my dream job. You know, the job that I wanted to take before, like my idea was to like work for somebody else, get some experience and save up, pay off some of my student loans and stuff, and then start my own business. That was my goal back then. Goals change and form and like transform and stuff. But at that time, after like instantly driving home, I'm like, my car is not going to be able to make this trip every day. And it was like, I was just thinking of all the negative things. And in reality, I should be like, oh my goodness, I just had my interview with my dream job and I could be doing this and I could be doing that and it could be amazing. But I focus on the negative. And like I said, I have no idea what could have happened, but I didn't feel good after the interview, that's for sure, because I was focusing on all the ways that everything could go wrong. Needless to say, I didn't get that a call back, but I was actually at that moment with all the negative stuff I was thinking about, I was relieved because I'm like, I would have had to turn them down because there's no way I can make it work. But with a different mindset, if I was like, anything is possible when I stopped telling myself it isn't, I'm sure doors would have opened, ways would have opened up if I would have allowed myself to look at it in a positive way instead of a negative way. I know in any area of my life where there's a will, there's a way. I think about so many things that I've done in my life where I was so determined to do something that I moved heaven and earth to do it. Just like moving across the country. Was it easy? No. But once I decided it was happening, it happened. So when we start focusing on the positive, more doors, windows, cracks open up for us to see light so we can do more awesome, amazing things and things will go right. Now, obviously, not everything goes right all the time. But when we look at things in a light instead of the darkness, things look so much better. So one time I was, talking to my daughter about something and she was all about like being, I think, afraid of something. Or no, she was spiraling out thinking about all the things that could go wrong too. I said, look, if you in the dark, you can't see. So you're afraid, like there's different sounds. Like actually, we went out the one day, she left her skateboard out and it got dark before we got it. And I went to go get it. And I opened the door and I knew there was an animal out there. I couldn't see it. So it could have been a bear, a deer, or a raccoon, or a few other kind of creatures out there. And so I closed it. And then my daughter's like, let's lock it too, so the bear doesn't get in. Because we do have bears every evening walk through our yard. So I'm like, it could have been something. So let's just close that up. The skateboard can wait there till tomorrow when we can see. And when my daughter was talking about, I forget what, she was talking about an activity, possibly her camping trip. I'm not sure. But she was thinking about what could go wrong. And I go back to that story about looking or going to get the skateboard. It's like, we knew there was an animal out there. Could have been like a cat for all we know. We have some neighborhood cats. But in the darkness, things we don't know what is there, and it can feel scary. And then once you shine light on, like once the daylight comes, things look a lot differently. Like if there's a bear in our backyard in the daytime, we would know it was a bear because we'd see it. Or if it was a deer, we'd know. So when we shine light on things in our life and we think about it as a positive thing, and we look at it from a light air, like from a place of awesome positivity instead of some dark, scary thing or animal out there that we don't know what it is, it feels better. And when we feel better, we can do better. So it's all about like negative thoughts and things like that too, right? Like when you think a negative thought, it usually produces another negative thought and another negative thought, another negative thought until we finally stop. And if you don't, like there's people out there that live lots of their life just thinking negative. I was talking to a family member a while back and they were talking about like really bad restaurant service. And I was like, we live here on the coast, like coastal time. Everything is just chill and slow, but we're okay with that. Like I just enjoy a beverage with like, a drink with a friend. Like I don't even know how slow service is anymore or anytime. Like I don't notice those things because I'm just relaxing and having a good time. So we can all look at things from a different perspective. You can either think positively about a situation or negative. And especially like if you're focusing on everything that can go wrong or versus everything that can go right, these things haven't even happened yet. So why not choose what could go right instead of what can go wrong? It makes you feel better. And when you feel better, again, you do better. And you show up in this like place of awesomeness instead of like being dragged down. Think of like, do right now, like think of something that's negative. Think about it. Now take a deep breath in. And out. Let it go. Now think about something that you love to do, something that brings you joy or a positive affirmation or a positive thought. How do you feel? Which one made you feel better? Like you could be like, I suck. I'm not good at anything. And it's like, I'm amazing. Like I just did this. Like I'm a rock star. Doesn't that feel so much better? When we are in that positive flow comes back to us. When we're negative, negative goes out, negative comes in. And we just kind of go on this negative roller coaster. And it's not fun. But then we can go on like a beautiful, wonderful, lazy river of positive attitude and energy. And it can be amazing. We don't control what happens in our lives. But we can control how we move through our lives and how we feel through our lives. And if we're always focusing on what could go wrong, you're going to miss out on all the beautiful things that can go right. So today, focus on positivity. Hopefully I'm I'm just dousing you in positivity today. I hope like you're just like, like I can do anything. You got this. Okay? And like just it's about focusing on what can go right. Because you never know. It could go right. We don't have like, unless, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you have like a magic, like a crystal ball, a magic crystal ball. I know I don't though. So I rather choose a positive outcome versus a negative one. Now I want to put this in here because I am human. I do fall into thinking negative thoughts some of the time. And if you do, be mindful, try to catch yourself because that's what's most important. We're going to have negative thoughts. We're going to have times where we're like, but what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? It's about becoming aware of your thoughts. And when you have those, send yourself some love, or give yourself a hug and like, let it go. Be like, but what if? What if it goes right? What if it is amazing? Beyond my wildest dreams. So be gentle and loving with yourself and just be mindful of when you fall in the trap of negative thinking and let it go and hop on that lazy river of positivity. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye for now.